In Syria, public critics of the regime seldom live to tell the tale. The country's security services are notorious for their brutality. Their violence pushed many peaceful protesters into armed opposition 9 years ago, and the country has been at war ever since. But on the last day of April 2020, something unprecedented happened. Syrian tycoon Rami Makhlouf, one of the regime's key cronies, appeared on social media criticising the government for imposing a tax bill on his telecoms company, Syriatel. The video stunned the public. It was the first time that anyone has publicly criticised the regime from within Damascus, which shows the great power Makhlouf holds in Syria. Makhlouf is President al-Assad's first cousin and Syria's richest man. For over 20 years he was allowed to monopolize the Syrian economy and was believed to control 60% of it before 2011, the year that marked the beginning of anti-regime protests. Makhlouf's power and the historic relationship between his family and the Assads make him a difficult opponent for the president. The two families have been bound together for 3 generations. Historically, the Makhloufs were an influential family based in Syria's western coastal region, the home of the Alawite minority group that is a key pillar of support for the Syrian regime. Rami's aunt, Anissa, married the young army officer Hafez al-Assad in 1958. Anissa's father initially objected to the marriage as the Assads were from a lower caste than the Makhloufs. There were also political reasons. The Makhloufs were members of the Syrian Socialist Nationalist Party who were ideologically opposed to the rising Ba'ath Party of which Assad was a member. It is believed that Anissa Makhlouf's cousin Badi shot the Ba'athist leader Colonel Maliki in 1955. The high-profile assassination forced the Nationalist Party underground for decades to come. After Hafez became president in 1971, he promoted the Makhlouf family and gave them control of the lucrative tobacco industry. In 2000, when Hafez and Anissa's son Bashar became president, there was hope he would reform and open the economy, but instead he created a system designed to enrich his family and his cronies. Rami Makhlouf gained the most. Back in the 1990s, he had launched Ramak, a duty-free contract business, but his fortunes expanded rapidly in 2001 when he was awarded the contract for Syriatel, the country's largest telecoms company. Makhlouf expanded his business empire over the next 10 years. He propped up the regime by helping it to avoid sanctions and expanding its influence in next-door Lebanon. Over time, his corruption and wealth became a symbol of the regime. When peaceful protests broke out in 2011, demonstrators chanted that Makhlouf was a thief. Makhlouf used his vast wealth to fund militias who fought for Assad and the Syrian security forces. Makhlouf's Al-Bustan militia was among the most brutal militias in the country and committed many atrocities. But it wasn't just Makhlouf who gained from the war. Corruption and smuggling created a new generation of pro-regime businessmen and warlords, some of whom were connected to President Assad's wife, Asma. In 2019, tensions began to show. After years of devastating conflict, the country lay in ruins and the regime was bankrupt. President Assad needed funds and Rami had them. In the same year, in an alleged anti-corruption drive, Assad ordered Syrian businessmen, including Makhlouf, to pay millions of dollars. But the money did not meet his target of $500 million. In December 2019, the government seized Makhlouf's assets. The relations between him and the government deteriorated as Makhlouf refused to pay. By April 30th, 2020, it seemed Makhlouf had lost any direct access to his cousin and instead took to Facebook to voice his concerns. Assad did not publicly respond to the videos, but on May 22nd he ordered Makhlouf's assets to be seized again. The regime then slapped a travel ban on Makhlouf, preventing him from leaving the country, and took away his bodyguards. Makhlouf's position worsened as his brother Ihab resigned as deputy at Syriatel and made a public post criticising Rami's actions and pledging loyalty to Assad. Makhlouf is in trouble. Once Syria's top businessman with seemingly unrivaled influence, his empire is now under threat. Some believe that Makhlouf's fate will depend on Syria's foreign backers. The Russians have been piling pressure on Assad to come up with a political settlement that would allow Moscow to compensate its investment in the regime through rebuilding the country. Makhlouf also has business and family connections in Russia, leading some to speculate about Moscow's involvement. Iran also has a stake in the future of Syria. The Iranian regime wants to consolidate its influence in the country, and a rival Iranian telecoms company is keen to take over Makhlouf's empire. Back in Syria, Makhlouf remains defiant. He continues to refuse to pay the money and instead announced he would donate all his seized assets to his charities. Meanwhile, his son Mohammed continues to attract attention for his lavish lifestyle in Dubai, a reminder that Makhlouf still has vast wealth stashed across the globe. On Facebook, Makhlouf has made several posts appealing to the loyalties of the Alawite community. But whether they will choose Makhlouf or Assad, and how long Makhlouf can continue to defy his dictator cousin, remains to be seen.